The Kavernacle is a political YouTuber with 51.9k subscribers. Now, you may only be wondering why I'm responding to this person in particular. Reasoning being is that he's an absurd lunatic who has never touched grass, as his videos in question have some of the most batshit insane ideas I've ever seen. And even if they have facts, the factors that cause the events within generally tend to be very rare and are often over-exaggerated. As you can see right here, all he talks about are anti-SJWs, and the video I'm responding to, named The Toxic Politics of the Gaming Community, Part 2, Actman vs. quote-unquote SJWs, perfectly sums this up. Now, I know that Actman unironically used the term SJW, but last time I've checked on Actman's vids that deal with politics, he also bashed Christian conservatives. Also, I know what some fuckers in the comment sections could be saying right now, saying that I'm left, right, or whatever the fuck wing, but in reality, I'm only here to respond to fatherless motherfuckers who think everything must be political propaganda. Anyway, let's just get into this fucking cancerous tumor already. Jesus Christ.
So this is the second part of my series exposing the toxicity within the gaming community, in particular their politics. Now, yesterday's episode focused on the quartering. While you don't have to have watched it, I would recommend that you do so because there is a through line between what I talked about in that video and this video. And it may be obvious that this was originally recorded as one video, but it's just way too long, so I split it into three. So today's episode is going to be focusing on the popular gaming YouTuber, the Actman. So the quartering is a talentless hack, but the Actman, like I said previously, is actually a good YouTuber when he's making video essays about, old classic games. And again, I really like his content.
Quote unquote, I really like his content. Yeah, no. When we get into this video in particular, we'll see him not
keep that same energy.
So I don't really take much pleasure in doing this, but I'm going to break down his video called Feminists and SJWs versus Video Games, which was done in the wake of Gamergate. Now this may be quite long and I've made numerous notes on it, so I'm going to go through different clips and I'm going to talk about how this is a prevailing sort of message within the gaming community, and I'm obviously going to talk about why it's wrong.
Damn, talk about a narcissist.
Now here you see the Actman say something you've heard before, that the problem really is on the people who bring up the lack of diversity. It's not on anyone else who just ignores it, essentially.
I speak for myself, but I imagine most non-racist, non-sexist people would agree. When I watch a movie or play a game, I don't think to myself, oh hey, this has a black lead character. Oh yeah, that's diverse, that's good. I'm more interested in the writing, the cinematography, the sounds, the music, dialogue.
Actman here is making the point that we should mostly care about the story, the gameplay, writing, sounds, and all that knickknacks that make games really good. But, as you can see here, Cav is gonna miss the point.
See, the real problem is seeing a lack of diversity as a problem. When you boil down the quality of any art or narrative down to a gender or percentage of skin tones, you are making the diversity quota an issue.
Now in the video, the Actman goes on to talk about criticism by games media that The Witcher 3 was not diverse enough. Now his argument is not necessarily something I disagree with. He's essentially saying that Poland doesn't really have many, cultural landmarks on the world stage. You probably don't know anything from Poland in terms of literature or video games. So when it's representing a game world just like, medieval Poland, then you shouldn't really have a problem with that. And you guys might respond like, why can't I just throw in some diversity? Why does it matter? The TV show did, and the author of the books was linked heavily in that. Again, that's fair enough criticism, but the way he concludes this part of the video shows another argument they like to put forward, which is pretty prevailing in the gaming community.
Now, Witcher 3 came under fire and criticism because it features an all-white cast. But this article by Polygon seems to think otherwise. Reviews have lavished praise, perfect scores, and awards on it, while some reviews have mentioned issues such as sexism. None I read mentioned another crucial misstep. Not a single human in the game is a person of color. And it's tied to a central issue here that gaming as a whole needs to face. Concerns of minority groups are not only ignored, they're so often not even considered. Yes, according to Tariq here, representing people of color is an issue the entire gaming industry needs to face no matter what country you come from, because fuck your nation, fuck your culture, fuck your history, give me diversity, or I'll write a shitty, racist article about it.
Keep in mind that Actman called these SJWs or whatever the fuck racist. Besides, don't you political fucktards want to get rid of racism?
This backwards asshat of a man tries to self-victimize himself and disregard the nation of Poland. This article is a perfect example of how SJWs can get so wrapped up in their own ideology that they don't realize what they're writing is racist, culturally insensitive, and virtue-signaling propaganda.
So again, criticizing a game for a lack of racial diversity is itself racist, and you're part of the problem for bringing it up in the first place. Again, in the specific example of The Witcher 3, I'm willing to have that conversation about, Polish representation on the world stage. And again, you're parroting what people like the Quartering are saying, is that it's on people who bring it up. They're the problem. You're the problem if you ever bring up we should have more diversity in games.
Well, to be fair, it's people like you who bring up the problem as well. Get fucked, stay fucked, bitch.
The Actman also uses Morgan Freeman saying that for racism to go away, you've got to stop talking about it.
America has a big history with race because we are a very diverse country. But as Morgan Freeman wisely said,
how are we going to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it.
Stop making it an issue. Stop trying to put race into every discussion, into every piece of media and art. Stop trying to make race an issue.
Now, obviously, I disagree with that. You don't get past racism by stopping talking about it. Remember what Fox News and Republicans would do, saying Obama shouldn't racialize the presidency.
Cares about the Republicans and Obama. His point is that we already live in a diverse as hell country, and we don't need to worry about racial issues. Fuck, I'm Filipino, dude. Aw, are you gonna suck my dick now because I'm not white or black? Boo-hoo, let me play a sad song on the world's smallest violin.
Essentially forcing him not to talk about race that much when he was the president, and the first black president of a nation built on slavery and currently has a form of modern day slavery in the criminal justice system. You of course have to talk about these issues. You of course have to educate people. I've said a lot of Britain's problems specifically are from our failure to educate people properly on what the British Empire really was.
Mate, I don't need a history lesson. At least my history teacher knows when enough is enough. Yes, I know the right wing has done some bad shit in the past, such as slavery, but look at their left wing and fucking Soviet Russia.
And that includes educating people on racial issues. You can't just stop talking about it and expect it all to go away, because what happens is that old prejudices just stay because no one ever challenges them. Obviously this argument is complete bullshit.
Just like your video.
And it's convenient to use a black guy saying this to back you up, and a respected black guy at that.
Come on, if Morgan Freeman was white, you wouldn't be talking about this. Shut the fuck up.
But it is bullshit. You don't get rid of racism by stopping talking about it. And whether you agree with the guy who said Witcher should be more diverse isn't the problem. It's that this is a guy who isn't white and he's challenging it, and you can have that debate, and your response should be a bit more measured, and you could say something like, while I agree that there isn't enough diversity in the gaming industry, I feel in this particular instance, when we're trying to represent Poland, for example, I don't think it's misplaced.
All I heard was... And I must say, the message may be cancerous, but those are some good beatboxes you got there, dude.
Again, whether you agree or disagree with that, it's up to you. But if you actually care about diversity and you care about social change, that is the way you would handle that sort of argument, even if you don't agree with it. So I'm going to show you another clip which has another pretty dominant argument, is that video game characters and video game narratives are centered around white people because that's who they're trying to appeal to.
That's not exactly his point. He's just focusing on core audience. Of course a Japanese anime would have Japanese voice actors. Of course an American action movie would have American voice actors. Dude, it's not that hard to get that stuff in your brain.
So take a look at this quick.
Is there a lack of diverse people from different cultures as video game protagonists and in the industry? Perhaps. But it's not really an issue. That's just the demographics of America. Now, if you want to change what video game companies appeal to, you'd need to change the demographics. And good luck with that.
Now, of course, America is not the only video game market. Asia is, of course, taken off. you could argue actually more gamers are from Asia than anywhere else. But the point I want to make here is that if white men are the people who predominantly buy video games and play video games...
Oh boy, here comes his rant against white people again.
Why do you just have to make every character like them?
Dude, characters have this thing called a personality, and they use that personality for character development. Can't you just get that in your head right now? Oh wait, your skull is so thick that even a .50 caliber bullet wouldn't be able to penetrate it. What a freaking surprise!
I could maybe understand it if you're making the argument a bit more towards the Doom guy or Master Chief, but again, I don't think that guy needs to be white necessarily.
No, it's because race is the last thing most rational game devs will focus on. If anything, most of them are going to focus on the gameplay. Don't even pull out the character design element, because I design poorly made characters myself. And most of my dudes rarely have race as one of their problems, with very few exceptions. But they sure as shit have some interesting character designs, I'll say.
But nowadays, games are like films. Most games have very strong narratives, and a lot of games are really blurring the lines between cinema and gaming, whether that is The Last of Us, Uncharted, Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah, but I can definitely assure you that most quote-unquote gamers would just skip every cutscene because most of them only want to play the game for, you know, the gameplay. Even then, some of the best games ever, like Portal and Half-Life, they weren't quote-unquote cinematic experiences, but their gameplay was so good that it won them many awards.
But you don't go to the cinema and say, I am a white dude, so please, can I only watch films about white men?
Who the fuck would unironically say that in public? Jesus Christ, you're making some of the most hilarious situations I've ever heard.
No one really thinks like that. So why would you apply that logic to the gaming industry? When you watch films that celebrate different cultures and show you other parts of the world you've never seen before, that's pretty rewarding. You learn something as well. So why don't we apply that to the gaming industry? Because
games aren't films, you dumbass.
Why do we say, well, let's keep white men the main protagonists because white men traditionally play video games?
Okay, at this point, I think I'm gaining a brain tumor. Holy shit.
And he even admits in his own video that there isn't really enough diversity in leading characters in video games. So another clip I'm going to play you is the Axeman saying that SJWs, arguing for more diversity is pretty much just as damaging as not having the diversity in the first place.
But it seems to me like these people want to change the way our culture and other cultures and countries create art to fit their own standards and ideologies of diversity and racial acceptance. And that seems far more damaging to society than a lack of diversity ever could be.
Now that statement is bordering on white nationalist talking points.
All I hear from this dude is white, 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 white. You know, if you want to talk about white people, we can always talk about you yourself.
It's about protecting culture. No, Anita Sarkeesian or other YouTubers saying you should have more diversity in a global games industry is not a bad thing, and it's definitely not as bad as these people not having a voice in video games. Again, you're talking about protecting US culture, protecting Polish culture, not allowing any diversity. And now you can start to see how gaming can lead to more radical beliefs.
Radical beliefs, huh? Said the jackass who said femboys are Nazi propaganda. I don't even like femboys.
So Axeman goes on to say that gamers don't care about any of these things. If you're here for a good time to play games with other people, we don't care. While simultaneously showing footage of Milo Yiannopoulos, a well-known white supremacist.
That has risen up because it is tired of being lied about and slandered by its own press.
Realistically, unless you're playing Dota, League of Legends, or Call of Duty multiplayer, gamers don't care if you're gay, what color your skin is, or if you're a girl. All we care about is having fun and sometimes being competitive. Everyone can have a home in gaming if they're a good person at heart, and they share their love with others.
Now obviously I wish that was the case, but I wouldn't be making this video if it was. It's a convenient thing to say for people like the Axeman, the Quartering, that, we don't care, and maybe people like the Axeman don't care, and the Quartering don't care on a surface level, like I'm not going to treat you any differently based on who you are. But when you make videos like this, and you make videos like the Quartering pushing back against these groups, saying that they're not oppressed, saying that they shouldn't be talking about diversity, saying that their pursuit of more diversity in games media in general is just as damaging as not having diversity, it doesn't make me think that you don't care about these things. Now he goes on to say there's no proof of these things, so have a look at this clip.
Now let's wrap this up and talk real shit. Just as it was with the war against video games, the idea that video games and the industry itself is racist, sexist, homophobic, pro-genocide, or whatever has no real concrete evidence or proof. Simply put, there are no statistics, research, or proof that could lead one to reasonably believe video games cause racial or sexist thoughts. And it'd be an even further stretch to imagine any sort of trope, stereotype, or lack of diversity in a video game having real-world consequences.
Now the hard thing with stuff like this is that there isn't often concrete proof, and that is what media is really. How can you quantify how Call of Duty makes people feel about the US military? That is a very, very hard thing to do. But let's not pretend that media like gaming and movies and TV shows don't have an influence. I've made videos about Call of Duty basically regurgitating neocon conservative talking points.
Yeah, maybe because Infinity Ward is an American video game developer?
About the war on terror. I've talked about how Call of Duty Black Ops depicts the Vietnam War in a certain way. Now I can't quantify how that influences someone's opinion of those things, but it's safe to assume to a lot of people that will be their exposure to these things.
Hey, at least Black Ops and Modern Warfare had its iconic moments. Even then, most people play COD for the multiplayer anyways.
That will be some of their limited exposure to the Vietnam War, and does that enter your mind in how you think about that conflict? Of course it does. And does that play a part in your general politics? Yes, it does. Media will play a prominent role in how you view certain things. Where do most people get their knowledge of World War II from? World War II films. Let's keep it real. Most people's primary knowledge of World War II comes from those films. As such, their whole stance towards a conflict comes from those films. Again, I don't have data. I can't quantify it.
Then, why are you making this a point then, bro? You mad that Saving Private Ryan's actually a good movie, motherfucker?
But you guys know there are certain films or TV shows you watch about certain events that when you start talking or thinking about those events, they are then in your head. And I actually think this can be useful as someone who has a history degree and a politics master's.
Man, no one asked about your history degree or politics masters. If anything, I'm believing that you don't actually have those because you're making these dumbass arguments out of your ass.
I like to use movies and TV shows as springboards into the subjects. Give me something that I can grab onto, something that seems familiar. But then a lot of people will never explore those further, so that becomes their knowledge. And to say that the games industry has no homophobia, has no racism because there's no quantifiable data, is just really absurd.
Most people who play video games don't give a shit if they're called gay on Call of Duty. Grow some fucking balls, pussy.
Because the games industry is just going to be a reflection of the people who make it. Just how certain directors have their political stances come through in their films, whether explicitly or implicitly, that happens the exact same way with gaming. So obviously it does exist in some degree, because you just can't separate the directors of those projects, the artists working on them, from their political beliefs. So I think the conclusion of this video shows where a lot of his ignorance comes from.
I could say the same for your conclusion, man.
This quest for equality and diversity wasn't a highly publicized issue until just a few years ago. It wasn't an issue until it was made an issue, until gaming itself was attacked.
So the push for more diversity in gaming only became an issue recently because SJW feminists just wanted to, pat themselves on the back and make themselves look better. Or maybe it could be that society is changing very, very rapidly.
Hey look, it's the classic Joker Society card.
Gay people have gotten more rights, trans people have gotten more rights, more racial minorities are more visible through their pursuit of their own rights. As such, that spills over to entertainment, like media, so you see a greater push for those people having more representation in a traditionally white male-dominated industry. It's not because people suddenly thought after hundreds of years that I fancy pushing some progressive politics in entertainment at large, and I'm going to start right now. No, it's obviously a correlation with what's happening in general society. Now again, this video from the Ant-Man was extremely disappointing.
And your video gave me a brain tumor. Thank you very much.
It was 3 years ago, nearly, I'll say that, but he does drop a lot of these messages in his current videos, and before I would just ignore it. I'd be like, that's just a typical gamer, you can't really escape from those things. But after watching this video, I have reassessed him a bit. You know, he still makes good content, and I think there is possibly something in him where you could change his mind, and I do think he himself is a reflection of the larger gaming community, and like you see with the Quartering and the Act-Man, they're not friends, they don't work together.
Bruh, imagine comparing Act-Man to frickin' Quartering. So sad. So sad indeed.
But they say a lot of the same things.
Yep, the same applies to you as well.
Because they are reflections of the community as a whole. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you have any other examples. Let me know if you want a follow-up to any of this. If you want to follow me on social media, follow me at the Kavernacle. Twitter is the main one, but also Facebook and Instagram. Also check me out on Reddit, so u/Tommy Cahill is my personal Reddit, but the big one for me is r/the Kavernacle. That is my subreddit.
Damn, that neck beard's growing on you because of Reddit and Twitter, huh?
Check out my Patreon and WordPress in the description, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.
So I guess the takeaway here is that we must justify actually good media becoming terrible because of them becoming more and more propagandist to my side of the political compass. What we should really care about is forcing in shitty political discussions in video games where the core focus is gameplay and fun. You know, ignoring shit like a Roblox subreddit getting fucking nuked because some BLM or whatever the fuck retard that should have committed died forced into political beliefs. I'm Kavernacle or whatever the fuck. I think femboys are in reality neo-Nazis, ignoring the fact that femboys are literally fucking feminine boys and nothing else more simple than that. Oh, COD is American imperialism propaganda, ignoring the fact that the Russians during World War II and Black Ops titles got more love and kicked some fucking ass like Viktor Reznov. Wait, people are dislike bombing my vid because of my totally not shitty points? Nah, let's just call these fuckers bigots and idiots for disagreeing with me while ironically thinking Act-Man is a good YouTuber, quote-unquote. At the end of the day, what did I learn? Well, I did learn that Kavernacle is an example of no pussy. Guess that's all. RIP.
Show me your boobs or draw 25. Nice try.